Okay, good news. We here at Gen API have figured out how to do the backface culling and coloring the faces of our objects in the right order. So, and we also made our system compatible with Blender files, so we can now support the conversion between .obj files and just standard points and links that we use. So, I just wanted to show you real quick. This is Mickey Mouse. He's now open source free domain. So I was able to import Mickey into Blender and then convert the coordinates into our system. So we can now render Mickey in our just using pure vanilla JavaScript. And then we can rotate around just to make sure that it is rendering correctly. Actually, it looks pretty good. And there's a common saying that goes in the 3D graphics world that if you can render a teapot in 3 dimensions, then you know you made it. So let's do the teapot test. So if I switch objects to the teapot, you can see that a teapot has a handle and a spout, and then you can rotate it all every which way around and see that it's still rendering correctly. So I just wanted to share this good news that we are now compatible with common 3D formats that you can import export from your traditional software that you use like Blender or what is it called? AutoCAD. Like if you're using AutoCAD and you can get it into that .obj Blender format, then it'll work. And the thing that's great about this is that you don't have to pay like $2,000 a year in licensing fees. You don't have to ramp up a steep learning curve to try to learn OpenGL or WebGL if you're programming in C or using web standards like that. You could still use 3.js, which is actually the simplest way to do it. But because I was trying to teach how to do the mathematics behind, I think you can learn it better if you just do it from scratch. So this has been developed completely using just plain old vanilla JavaScript. So no frameworks. And we're now compatible with the major 3D formats, and you can learn how this is all done. Just like I said, it's like literally 10, 15 lines of code that do the bulk of the calculations. A lot of it is just organizing code itself is the problem, and trying to build object-oriented programming standards so that you can keep track of like the bundles of information that you have to process. Like every one of these vertex points and lengths and side faces have to be accounted for, and then you have to loop through them to determine their distance from the camera, the dot product, so you know which way the center of the orthogonal projection from each plane is pointing, so that you can determine which side to show and which side to hide. So the logistics of kind of managing that information is what is the hardest part of it. The actual calculation is actually quite simple. So just, click like and subscribe, sign up for the class, only $15, and you can learn very simply how to do the calculation. So I'm just going to end this on Mickey because he looks so cool. So let's bring Mickey back. Zoom in a bit. And then we can you could animate him. Or the other thing that we're working on, just a little teaser, is I've already got most of the code written. It was also only like 10 lines of code to be able to save the movements, the actual animation, without having to save all the individual data points. We only save the meta information about the movement. So it's incredibly efficient to replay an animation that you do in real time. And I'll show you that in the next video, how you can save animations. And then, of course, if you sign up for the Gen API, the free application programming interface builder, then you could just save those coordinates straight to the database and then share. I think when Facebook was developing that concept of meta or whatever, the idea was that you have a 3D rendered environment that people basically meet in, and then you show them something. Like I could be renting out a suite with Airbnb or something like that, and then show people through an animation on a website how to enter the building on the side, so you're not disturbing the other residents in the space. And for example, there's so many use cases. Realtors could save a lot of time if they just sit down in the office and they had something like this, architectural plans for some of the houses they have on the market that they want to sell. Then the user could just like look around in a virtual environment like this and decide, oh yeah, actually that is kind of what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm looking for. That kind of thing. So there's tons of use cases. So anyways, we're not selling 3D animation here. What we're doing is we're selling the application programming interface, and this is just a use case for how, like if you were in graphics, gaming, or architecture, how useful it would be that you have all this metadata when you're developing your own application. You might want to save that into a quick database. In JavaScript, you can't do that because you're locked down by Chrome. Chrome doesn't allow you. You can only save locally in the one user, so it's not a distributed. There's no way for your web application to share data across multiple users and have a place to save it without having to go into the laborious task of actually developing a full-fledged web application project, which, as we've talked about in previous videos, would cost a fortune because there's so many pieces and components that have to work together to make that possible, not to mention the nightmare, the hosting challenges, and all the people that you have to pay along the line of the process of trying to get that done. This way, it's just instant. You just import the CDN in your JavaScript, and you just work with JSON data. And that's very simple. And then you can just call one function, save the data, load it, and you're basically writing Windows programs in JavaScript. It's hosted on Apache that require no extra dependencies. You don't need to figure out how to host a Node application. You don't need to figure out you still have to host your HTML file, but that can just go on Apache web server, which is like the fastest web application server available. And the simplicity of developing code for the web this way is Rubblecoder. It's like a revolution in web application development. So look what you can do. Like, we didn't use any frameworks. We didn't use WebGL or I didn't use any other programs. I did use Blender to get the models. Somebody else, thank you for the model, by the way. And they're freely available through different websites that you can find. If anybody knows where the 1972 hand rotation model is, I'm looking for something like that. Like if anyone has recreated that, because I know it's, I think, part of Wiki Commons or something. It's got to be available since it's a part of animation graphics history. So somebody's got to have that out there. If anybody knows, just leave a comment below and let me know. I'd be interested in that. So we'll see you in the next video.